This video is about the 5 habits that I wish I'd started before my 40s. These are all things that I do now and which, with the wisdom of middle age, I wish I'd started doing much earlier in life. And the first of these is solitude, taking time out to be by myself.
So I am up here in Pitlochry in Perthshire in Scotland. I've actually come up here to be by myself. As I've got older, I realise I just need and crave solitude. It's got to the point where I have to put this in the diary to make sure that it happens. Whether you have a busy life or not, I genuinely think that getting away from everything for a short while and being alone is the best thing you can do. When I'm alone and spending time by myself, that's really when I come up with my very best ideas, particularly when I go to places which are brand new to me. I take inspiration from the landscapes and just the feeling of being by myself. These are the times that I really crave because I do genuinely get my best creative ideas. I came here 3 weeks ago and it was beautifully sunny. I had to cut short my trip to Pitlochry for family reasons and head back to Edinburgh. But this was the spot where I filmed my drone in the beautiful autumn colours in the sunshine. 3 weeks later, on a very dreich Scottish day, the leaves are drastically different. Earlier this year, I went up to Glencoe for a weekend. Just getting away from everything, being able to experience the mountains and wander about in this beautiful landscape completely recharged me and made me feel immensely happy. The little tip is that if you are going to try and carve out some time for yourself, try and embrace that solitude, make sure that you switch off. The more disconnected you can become from your normal life, the better.
Quitting alcohol.
It's been nearly 2 years now since I stopped drinking alcohol, and I have to say it's probably one of the best things that I've ever done. My decision to stop drinking alcohol was not because I had a problem with it. In the months leading up to my decision to stop drinking alcohol, I was actually drinking very little. And then one night I shared a bottle of wine with my wife, and that night I remember just being fueled by anxiety. I lay awake in bed, could feel my heart pounding through my chest, and realised that although I'd only had half a bottle of wine, this was doing absolutely nothing for both my physical and mental health. In that moment, I decided to stop drinking altogether. I have made a whole video about my decision to stop drinking. I'm likely to do a follow-up on this now that I'm approaching my 2-year anniversary, but some of the main benefits are more energy. I wake up in the morning and I feel happier, more alert, and I have much more energy. I'm saving money by not drinking, but I think the main thing is just the mental clarity. I know that I'm not going to be affected by brain fog. Alcohol is not going to affect my decision making. I'm always going to be clear in my thoughts, and I feel far more creative when I'm not drinking. Naturally, there have been many occasions when it's been tempting to have a drink, particularly family occasions or celebrations, birthdays, Christmas, New Year, those kind of times. But for me, I find it far easier to abstain completely than it is to moderate. I stopped drinking when I was 41 years old. I kind of wish I'd maybe done it when I was 32. As with all of these things, I think the earlier that you start them in your life, the easier it is to carry them forward.
Taking my health seriously.
I came across an article recently which referred to being in the rush hour of life, and refers to the stage of life between the age of 25 and 45 in which life's major tasks are concentrated: having a family, maintaining a career, and increasingly looking after one's own parents. I like this idea, and I think it perfectly described what I was going through, particularly when I had younger children. I was aware that I needed to take my own health a lot more seriously, but life just seemed so busy. Prior to turning 40, I think I just had this belief really that I could get away with things. It didn't really matter if my diet was poor, if I didn't get much exercise. I was always still pretty healthy. And it wasn't until I turned 40 when I started looking ahead to what the future may hold that it became really important to me to take my health much more seriously. 2 weeks before turning 40, I was the definition of cliche by signing up for my first marathon. I derived absolutely no enjoyment from running whatsoever, so the thought of running a marathon really scared me, but I never thought I was going to enjoy it. I find it hard to explain what's changed from my previous position of not enjoying running, but perhaps now because I was in my 40s and I realised I needed to take my health a lot more seriously, added to the fact that going for a run just carved out some time for myself where I could plug in my headphones and escape from the world. This now became something that I just really enjoyed. For me, I now find that running is the best way to maintain my happiness. But I don't want to be one of those advocates who bores other people who are not interested in running. That experience of attempting a marathon, which only a few months ago had seemed insurmountable, really gave me so much confidence and belief in myself, not just with my running, but in life in general. This need and desire to take my health much more seriously was not something that I really embraced until I was in my 40s, and it's something I wish I'd done much sooner in life.
Books.
One of the things that you sacrifice, or perhaps you choose to sacrifice, when you have young children is reading. Reading is something which I really enjoy, but I have to admit that I haven't been disciplined enough to carve out the time to read a lot of books. And it wasn't until 12 months ago that my wife encouraged me to listen to audiobooks. This, I have to say, was a revelation. I find myself now looking forward to doing my domestic chores because it gives me the time to listen to audiobooks. My screen time is significantly reduced. I watch far less television, and my nighttime routine is now completely changed as I listen to audiobooks before going to sleep. Prior to listening to audiobooks, I was probably reading only about 4 or 5 books a year. In the last 12 months, I've listened to over 40 audiobooks. And every day I find myself going for long walks with Luna, my dog, which helps get to my step count of 15,000 every day.
Documenting my life.
As a filmmaker who's been making films for over 20 years, when I think about the most important things I've ever filmed, it comes down to 2 interviews. The first was with my mum, and the second was with my dad. Did you have any girlfriends during your teenage years?
Yes. Do I have to discuss them with you?
What are your memories of being a teenager?
I was quite happy.
I now have a permanent record of my parents' thoughts on love, life, and everything in between. And it was during these 2 interviews that really sparked my curiosity and desire to document my life in more detail. I only started documenting my own life purposefully when I had my first child. Jack was born, and at that point I decided to make a film about his first days. When I had a second child, Tom, I documented his first days, and it set in chain a process whereby every year I'd make a film about my 2 boys. Favourite football player?
Mo Salah,
Second favourite footballer?
Kevin De Bruyne.
What? This interest in documenting my life went beyond just making a film about my family, and I started delving into the archive of photos that I've taken over the years. Digital photos are fine when they're stored on your phone, but they work best when you print them and put them into photo albums. So these are 5 habits that I didn't implement into my own life until I was in my 40s, but which I wish I'd done much sooner. And if you'd like to know more about how to document your own life and why you should, then I've made a video about this very subject. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.